All right. What is up, everybody? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Health and Fitness podcast. As always, joined by my good friend, personal health and fitness mentor, and business partner, Jim Brown. Jim, what's up, dude?
Not much, man. A little technical difficulty tonight, but we got it figured out.
Yeah, man. And we were just kind of talking off air before we hit the record button, but kind of crazy with hurricane and everything coming through. And you guys were okay, though?
Yeah. Everybody by the water got hurt pretty bad this time around, but we did okay. So, it's I guess it's part of the hazard of having a house on the water. But
Yeah.
I feel for him, man. It was crazy. Marina, where my buddy keeps his boat, there was a boat in their pool. They had so much water, lifted a boat up, and it put it down in their pool. It's just crazy to see boats everywhere and so much sand. But yeah, man, hurricanes are powerful.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. With this one, I know, again, this is something you and I already talked about, but like I was just talking with a client of mine that's up in North Carolina, and her whole town is it's just like wiped out. Like everybody pretty much lost everything. So like it was just multi-state, right?
Yeah, that was a powerful storm. But those poor folks, man, they got flooded, and you could see there's people on their house, on their roof, and then got swept away, or the roof collapsed, and then they got plunged into the water somehow. And I think if you get in the water, you're done. But It's pretty sad, man. A lot of people really devastated.
Yeah, it's one of the kind of, I guess there's so many upsides to it that I'm not going to switch my behaviors on this, but the downside of not watching the news and not really going on social media is you don't know what's going on in the rest of the world. So until today, dude, I had no idea. I mean, this was literally an hour before I jumped on with you that, I'm having a conversation with my client about that. Like I had no idea that any of this was taking place.
Oh man. Yeah, that's good and bad. I think I stay tuned just enough to get, I see the big updates, but
Yep. So, well, glad you're all right, man. So,
thanks.
So today we're going to be talking about top tips for those of you that want to maximize your health and fitness, want to maximize your nutrition, want to maximize your workout activities, but maybe you're on a very limited and very busy schedule. So, and we'll kind of break this down into two parts. So, which one do you want to tackle first, training or nutrition?
Oh man, either one. Training probably. Let's start there.
Okay. So, super busy schedule, and let's just say, somebody is, because we're talking about maximizing. So let's just say somebody is actually wanting to, build muscle, but they are on a very limited schedule. What would be your top advice there?
Well, I would ask, like, how do you do it? Right? How do I do it? Get your ass up early in the morning and go. You have to find time. If you really want to do it, you can find time. That's mostly going to be you probably getting up early and knocking it out. But if you go to the gym, that 5 and 6 a.m. crew, man, they're not there to play around. If I show up at 6 and I got to be out by 7, it's fast. So I get to work. But if you can give yourself an hour and travel time to the gym and whatever, but an hour is plenty of time to knock out a really good workout. If you can get it done in 40 minutes, really, if you wanted to, and even less, even if you only had 30 minutes, I mean, you could still get an effective workout in that's better than nothing. But with that also, time management during the workout. So you're not going to spend a lot of time fucking around. You're going to want to warm up and then get into your maximal sets where you're going to have a chance to build muscle and get them done, and be very methodical and, effective with your time in the gym.
Yeah. And because I mean, this is probably the biggest comment that I get. I mean, because how, and you way more so than me, but I mean, there's not a conversation that takes place really in my daily life unless I don't leave the house where health and fitness doesn't, come up and somebody's asking me about like, well, what do you do? And the biggest, pushback, even when I ask them, don't even ask them about, oh, do you work out? They're just like asking me, But it's, oh, I wished I had the time to do that. I'm just so busy. I just don't have the time. And, you know, where my mind always goes is it's a priority thing.
Yeah.
You know, I get it. I've been there too. I used to allow myself to do this, but people complaining about time is like a fish complaining that there's not enough water. It's like all we have is time. You know, so then it really comes down to a, you know, priority standpoint of
Yeah.
how are you choosing to, like, because if I grab their phone and went to their settings and checked their screen time on their phone, or we started time tracking their time in front of that TV, or just wasted activities that weren't actually truly productive of things that really they really valued in life, like they can make, you know, usually they would have and make the time. But let's just assume that, you know, okay, they absolutely don't have the time, or they're just not willing to make that additional time. Because, you know, I'm
Yeah.
as busy as pretty much anybody that I know. But
I would agree.
I
Yeah.
train 2 hours a day, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, and that's it. I mean, everybody that's, nobody just has magical time that pops up. I mean, normally for a guy like you, and especially, myself with this job, and all the other stuff that I try to do, it's not like there's a time slot just filled. I'm, oh, gee, yeah, I'm going to make my time slot at night, or whatever. You have to make the time. And mostly that's getting up early. It's getting up earlier, not sleeping in and you shower and your work 15 minutes later. It's almost everybody cuts time out either late at night or in the morning,
Yeah.
that I know of, or maybe lunch too. If you have a lunch and you're working normal hours or something, but yeah, you gotta make time. And typically that's getting up early.
Yeah, and for me, and I know that not everybody's in this situation and position, but, yeah, like having a home gym, and I know some
Yeah.
people just like the environment of a, you know, whatever, but I'll tell you, dude, like, it creates a lot of time, like, because then there's no reason or excuse I can't fit it in at some point through the day, you know,
Yeah.
and I don't have to waste time in commuting and, you know, all of that stuff, but then from there, like, look, I've had certain seasons where, and I guess this is really a priority thing, where I thought I was busy, and I was busy, but you know, I wasn't as serious about as I am today, you know, but there was periods of time where I only had 20 minutes a day,
Yeah.
you know, that I allotted for myself to work out. Right. And man, I got good results at 20 minutes a day, you know, just going in, just one body part, wasting it, you know,
Yep.
supersets, pushing it to, you know, positive failure. Like, I don't think it takes nearly as much time as most people think.
No, it doesn't. There was a guy that worked with me years ago, and he's like, I don't have any time. I was like, you got 15 minutes? Because he had weights at home. And he's like, well, yeah, I can do 15 minutes. I go, okay, if I write something down, will you do it? And he's like, yeah, okay. And that's what we did. So arm workout, 15 minutes, continuous reps, back and forth, supersetting buys and tries for 15 minutes. He was fucking smoked. 15 minutes of chest, you can get smoked. And it's crazy. Then he got to the point where it became a habit. Then he's like, yeah, I started cutting out half an hour, but that's plenty of time. I mean, I'm still getting sore and all that. And we started with 15 minutes, which probably was only 8 minutes of lifting. Right. And then he's panting in between sets, but it really doesn't take a lot, if you want to do it, and especially if you have something at home to do it, man. I've thought about that so many times, but man, if I had all that stuff in my garage, it'd save me 40 minutes of driving,
Yep.
back and forth. But like you said, man, it's a lack of priority, not a lack of time.
Yeah, and then let's just say somebody's in a situation, maybe with kids and, you know, work, and maybe there's situations they can't set up a home gym, but maybe Monday through Friday they can't. You know, now I've never personally done this, but I've known others that have, where it's like, okay, but they have weekends available. You know, maybe their spouse, you know, can help out with kids in the weekends or whatever, where it's like, okay, you go crush upper body one day, lower body one day. Maybe you're putting in 90 minutes or 2 hours into those sessions,
Yeah.
you know, but even 2 days a week, it's like I've seen people get good results with that too.
100%. Yeah, you can do it. It's no problem. And especially if you did it that way, if you did like upper lower on Saturday, Sunday, something, you could absolutely do that. And then almost anybody can get a piece of cardio equipment at home. You can find one on the internet for cheap. People, that have been using their Peloton for a clothes rack or a treadmills for a clothes rack hasn't ever been used. You can almost get those for free, and almost everybody has room somewhere in their house to set that, and you can knock out 15, 20 minutes at a time with or a quick 10-minute hit session, and you're fine, man. So, again, it comes down to willpower. Are you willing to do it? Are you willing to put in 10 minutes of high intensity, and you can definitely get good results, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I always try to be careful. Like when I tell people that I train 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, I'm careful with that because I don't want them to think that that's
That's
necessary,
what you have to do. Yeah.
right? I'm like, look, I do it number one, cause I enjoy the hell out of it. And
Yeah.
I do it more for the mental components than the physical. It's just, I love the mental challenge of, man, at the end of that workout, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, but I have to give the same intensity that on that last set, that last, last few reps as I did the first.
Yeah.
And for me, it's more of a mental thing than it actually is that's what it takes to get results. Cause dude, like I've gotten amazing results with working out half of the volume I do now today, so, it's, I mean, what is the recommended, or like, what would you recommend for somebody of like the minimum amount of, working sets per body part for them to experience some element of hypertrophy?
For a beginner, maybe somebody just starting
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Beginner. Yeah. Cause I mean, this would be somebody that already is in a habit.
Yeah. It really, it's going to depend, right? So if you're kind of new or you're not real consistent with your workouts and you do something consistent, even if it's, half an hour a day or half an hour, 5 times, 4 times a week, you can get outstanding results. If you're used to, if you're kind of where you and I are, where, me, I'm fighting to keep on muscle, every day. You're trying to gain, you know, and we have a high adaptation to the volume that we're doing now. It would be hard for us to get a workout in 30 minutes, 4 times a week to adapt or to, stimulate change. So for us, it's probably going to be, even if we went in and really went at it, we could probably do it in 40 minutes, 45 minutes, 4 times a week, just because our bodies are so dependent on that work capacity that we're at now to keep changing. But that being said, man, most people, sometimes if you're super busy, like I was there, when I first started this job, man, I was so busy. I was just in trying to maintain mode. And, if that was twice a week, if it was 3 times a week, that's what it was. But I was able, certainly able to do that, and stay, keep muscle on and keep my strength up and all that. And that didn't take a lot of effort.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I'll tell you, when I was a personal trainer, and most of my clients, not all, but I would say probably 60% of my clients were beginners, right? That are just learning this. And then the other 40%, were athletes that were looking to, but with that, man, cause it was always like, you don't want to overtrain them. You don't want to get them too sore. They got to learn technique and you don't want to injure them. And, but I'd see clients, I mean, we're talking like maybe 8 working sets per body part per week at the
Yeah.
high end max, that I would see them get amazing results, especially as beginners,
Yeah.
and that, I mean, that we're talking, that's such a little amount. Like you can knock that out fast, especially with things like supersets,
Yeah.
so again, it doesn't take nearly as much as people think. And so that was going to lead me to my next question for you, due to essence of time, you know, um, are supersets something where can you get every bit as much hypertrophy benefits supersetting versus not supersetting?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I mean, I superset when I can, when the gym's not too busy. I love doing it, especially like for something like arms. I think it's great. It's a great tool. Superset legs. Yeah, I think so. And if you're trying to save time, that's a great way to do it. you know you're going to leave some, maybe, lift higher end lifts on the table sometimes, if the rest period or if your rest interval is cut short compared to if you're just training that body part straight and you're doing 3-4 minutes in between sets. you might notice a difference, but that's not really the most important part. The most important part is, are you stimulating adaptation, right? Is your body going to have to respond in a way that's going to make you more apt or, better handled to do more or handle that volume next time? And you can certainly do that. So, you might take a hit on the logbook with your overall weights and reps, but as far as stimulation, it's great tool.
Yeah, because my understanding with it, as long as it's like opposing body parts, like you mentioned arms. So like, let's just say I'm doing a tricep push, I don't know, or skull crusher, and then I'm supersetting that with a bicep, standing barbell curl.
Yeah.
As long as it's two opposing body parts.
Yeah.
My understanding is if you're doing a superset, so going from one right to the next, then taking a rest, for those that aren't familiar with what supersets are, that the hypertrophy benefits are every bit the same is if you weren't doing those. And that's a quick way where, hey, like if you were just to do do a set, take 2-minute break, do a set, take 2-minute break. And if you're supersetting, it's like, okay, instead of an hour workout, now you got a 30-minute workout.
Yeah. You might feel winded, when you're going back and forth like that. And I think maybe that would cut down on the overall weight, like if you were trying to compare it, comparatively. But again, that's not the important part. That's the important part is, are you stimulating enough to require adaptation? And certainly, upping the intensity that way is another way to do that. So absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. And then this is kind of on a side note, but I was gonna ask you, dude, and I think I already know what you're gonna say, because it's stimulus and recovery. But I'm kind of wanting to go to training 7 days a week, no days off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's
you know exactly where I was headed.
yeah.
And so I've noticed this too, right? So I've been running Monster Maker program. Again, I think I'm at the 4th week, and I'm more apt now to handle the overall workload, right? So my body's kind of started to be conditioned, and I've done some things to up my recovery rate. But I'm at the point now where I can either add volume, or I can add another day, or I could cut a day off and rest and get away with it. And I think I'm just going to add more volume to the days that I'm working out. But again, yeah, it's going to come back to, can you balance the stimulus with recovery, and does it make sense? So if you don't need 2 days off, in between, if you don't need 1 day off, if you don't whatever, then yeah, you can go back to training.
Yeah, because I'm essentially training every body part every 72 hours.
Yeah.
Other than calves and abs that I train every day. But I just hate the day off, dude. I hate it. I hate it, man. It's I just it's just part of my routine. Getting up, doing my first meal in the morning, get my body going, and then the training, and then just like the mental power that it gives me for the whole day, plus, I don't have to shift up my meals with my calories. Like I feel so much better,
Can you like throw on a pack and do a 40-minute ruck around the neighborhood with some weight?
Yeah, and I do that now. I mean, I'll go on like like when I have my day off, it's a day off of resistance training. And instead of, hitting, the weights for 2 hours, like I'll just double down on my cardio that day, but I just mean the resistance training, like the whole combination of that.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where mine's been going, but I'm like, yeah, Jim's probably going to yell at me if I know I probably need the day off.
I mean, if you can do it, but like today, when I went in to train chest, and I was trying to get it all done because, I wanted to train today. I just did cardio the day before. And anyway, I went in and I started doing the first sets, and I'm like, man, I'm still kind of sore, when I did, but I said, fuck it, and did it anyway. And, it wasn't probably one of the best thing to do, I'm breaking my own rule. But that was my test where I should have not trained today. When I got on the bench or hammer strength machine, I did that first rep. I know I was still sore, but if you roll in and you're fully recovered with no soreness, yeah, I would say go for it. But that's something that you're going to have to determine.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then, before we switch to nutrition, so just speaking on the workout element of this, and I know this is something that we talked about a lot before, and Jim and I kind of do different things here when it comes to cardio. Jim is pretty hardcore, like right after resistance training session, get into, zone 2 cardio. For me, I spread my cardio all throughout the day. But I make sure to hit 20,000 steps a day. So that ends up being, for me, about 10 miles a day of walking. But I don't have blocked off scheduled cardio time for that other than my, day off of resistance training. Now I'm also in a position where, throughout the day, like any of my my meetings or calls, I try to schedule as much over the phone versus Zoom. So then that way, like I walk all damn day long, dude. Even when, people want to meet with me, for whatever, like a work meeting, I'm like, let's take a walk.
Yeah.
They have to walk with me. I've had it. I go into my conference room that's, out this door down the hallway in my building. And when people want to meet with me, I'm like, okay, if you want to sit down, that's fine. But I'm going to be up and walking. I don't want this to make you uncomfortable, but I just, and for me, it does two things. Number one, it makes sure I get my step count in, and because dude, 20,000 steps a day is easy for me. People are always like, how the hell do you do it? I'm like, dude, I just don't. I mean, this is about the only time today that I'm actually sitting down. Like if I'm actually doing a podcast, I'll sit down for it because that'd be kind of weird to be walking for a podcast. But, outside of that, it's like, dude,
You would if you could. Yeah.
but it's at like, I'm not winded. It's, not getting me in a zone 2 by any means, but from an energy standpoint, because people always come to me and like, dude, how do you have so much energy? I'm like, look, the second I stop, it's like, what's one of Newton's laws of physics, what's in motion stays in motion. I'm like, dude, you plop me on the couch in front of a TV show, my ass is out in like 10 minutes, but if I keep moving throughout the day, then I always have energy. It's like the second I stop and start to relax, then I'm tired of shit, probably like everybody else. So there's ways to integrate, I guess that's a long way of saying you can integrate this stuff, where you can be heavily active, because that can make the difference, dude, of, 500 calories a day of caloric burn through your activity level.
Well, it's a lot, man. And that's, one of the things that we talked about this earlier about, I'm trying to get guys to do, 30 minutes of cardio or an hour on the bike a day, because it allows you to burn more food. You can just run more nutrients through you. And, you doing 20,000 steps a day and continually moving, you're doing cardio and you're burning calories, but you're able to process more nutrients through your body. And that just makes your recovery go up like crazy. I was watching an interview with Ronnie Coleman, and, when I was big, I had to do at least an hour cardio a day to keep my appetite up and to stay fairly lean and process more food. When it was time for me to lose body fat and contest time, I was doing 2 hours a day, because I was trying to recover. I was trying to run as many nutrients through my body as possible, and whatever that looked like on cardio, it's just like the carburetor analogy that I use all the time. You're putting a bigger carburetor on your engine, so you throw more fuel and air in it, and you get more horsepower out of it. It's kind of, for a lot of guys, I guess that doesn't make sense anymore because nobody knows shit about engines anymore. But anyway, so he was doing an hour cardio a day. When he started working with Chad Nichols, he's like, yeah, you're gonna double your protein intake for all your meals. So he was eating 4 or 5 meals with 6 ounces of protein. He doubled it to 12. So he was eating almost a pound of meat 4 times a day, 4 or 5 times a day, and then he doubled his cardio, and fucking things happened. He was never fat. He got bigger. His muscles got bigger because he ate more food and did more cardio. And I know a lot of people that doesn't make sense. Well, why don't you just eat less and not do the cardio? It doesn't work that way, man. It's more complicated than that. And that's why, like, I think the more cardio you do, the faster you can recover, as long as it's not, high intensity cardio, and you're keeping your food intake coming in, and your body's using it, without storing body fat. But I think it's a great plan, and it's essential, man. People got to do that. So however you do that, however you get that done, it's great.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's working, right? It's working. It's not like you're toasted after cardio and you can't recover.
No, dude, no. I mean, that's shit, dude. It's like, okay, like I get up, I eat, and then I have a 45-minute window before I go train from, when I get done eating, and I'm just slow pacing, so I'll get in 3,000 steps before I start hitting, the weights. And then in between each set, cause like bigger body parts where I'm doing compound movements, I'm usually like 3-minute breaks, and then smaller body parts more like 2-minute breaks. in between there. And it's a slow pace, but
Yeah.
it's like, dude, I get in. So by the time I'm done with my resistance training session by like 7 a.m., it's like I got 7,000, sometimes 8,000 steps in, and this is going to sound funky to most, but it's like when I'm eating, I'm walking. Like, I'm like, why sit down? And everybody
Yeah.
looks at me weird with that, but I'm like, well, I think it's fucking weird that, you just want to sit on your ass all day. Right. Like,
Yeah.
like it's like, even at like family dinners, whatever, my wife hates it, but I'm still with her, but I'll walk around the table. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. My son wants to watch a show with me. I'm like, okay, son, I'll watch this show with you, but while you sit on the couch and if that's what you want to do, I'm going to be pacing around the family room. I'm still watching the show with him. We're still talking about it. We're still, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just like there's ways to integrate this stuff
Yeah.
where you can get it all done. I mean, because you start looking at that. Like if I went on my Garmin right now, I'd have to, look at it. But I'm guessing my average is about 12 miles a day that I get in walking. Now
Yeah.
that's not 12 miles in one set, but
Right.
that's, just a combination of it. And yeah, I feel amazing with it.
Yeah. It's a lot of movement, man. Yeah.
So, integration, right? And I'm not saying that people have to go do 20,000 steps by any means, but I don't know, the average
Well,
person,
and it's a small things,
4,000.
right? It's just a small things, right? You don't have to park you don't have to cruise around for an hour trying to find the best parking spot. I mean, I'm guilty of that too. I have certain places where I like to park, but do you take the stairs? I mean, easy stuff like that. It adds up. It's one of the things I've said, your health is accumulation of all the 80 micro decisions that you make on a daily basis. It's those little things that they add up and count. Am I going to walk at lunch or whatever? Am I going to, like the people that I've had that are really broken and we're trying to get weight off them for the first time ever? Can you walk 5 minutes after each meal? Yeah. Okay. We'll work up to 10. And that does fucking amazing shit for them. It really does. So it's just those little things, man. The more things that you can do like that in a day, the better.
Yep. 1,000%. And then, I mean, what's good for the heart is also good for the brain. So there's all these other benefits,
Yeah.
that it's going to bring to you. So then, okay, switching to nutrition, what are your top tips there? Again, hardcore limited schedule, but want to maximize their ability to get in great shape. And we know that nutrition is probably the biggest component of this.
Yeah. Do not let yourself be in a bad position to make bad choices. So, whatever it is, however the workaround is, whatever it is, like I don't leave, typically I've had my cooler, riding in the car, riding shotgun with me for like 25 years now. If I'm going to be out of the house for the day or whatever, I have my cooler with me and I got food in it. I got emergency food stashed in my car. I got emergency shakes, and then if all else fails, I know where to go to get food. Like if I'm out wherever and I need a meal, I can go through Wendy's. I can get 2 plain burger patties and a baked potato, and that's boom. So I know there. If I have to, I can go to Wawa. I can get a bowl of scrambled eggs with a can of chicken on it at Wawa. I have places to go if I don't have food, but there's always a plan there. If you don't have a plan and you run out of food, that's how oh shit, I'm going through McDonald's, give me number 5 or whatever. That's how you start making those choices. And then, you kind of allow yourself to be in that bad position. So don't allow yourself to be in that bad position.
Yep. Yeah. Success is in, history favors he or she that, that is planned most effective, success is in the planning, right? So, and I do the same thing, dude. It's like, and I've just learned this from you, but it's like right now I try to do everything I can to avoid eating protein bars.
Yeah.
But I have you can't see it right now, but right next to my desk is a box of protein bars just in case I'm ever in a position like, hey, that's going to be better than, I don't know, having a DoorDash and some BS, right?
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like, and I'll tell you too, dude, like you mentioned a cooler, I don't know if you have one of those 6-pack coolers.
I don't, but I know you. Yeah.
I love it, dude. It's like anytime we're on the road, like even here in the Phoenix crazy heat of the summer, like it just keeps things cold, man. I mean, it's got a place in there, you got, 4 meals and then it's got side pouches for protein shakes. So, supposedly it's got room for 6 meals in there, keeps it cold. So like if I got my son's volleyball tournament, that's all day long.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll prep, I'll plan, I'll have all my meals in there. Cause even when you're on the road, like you can stop at a Circle K or a QT and use their microwave, warm up my chicken, whatever. But like that's great if you're on the road. But then from there, like when people are like, oh, I'm short on time. It's like, dude, even like I don't eat fast food, but once in a while, my wife, my kids will like, when we're on the road, beg me to pull through for them to get something. I won't eat the
Yeah.
shit, but they will. But I'm like, dude, fast food ain't fast, not anymore.
No.
Right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, like the quickest way and what saves me so much time is I take 2 days a week. It takes me about an hour to do it, but I cook all my chicken, cook
Yep.
all my rice. It's gonna last me for half the week. I could prep for the whole week, but
Yeah.
I don't like letting my food sit in the fridge for more than 3 or 4 days max.
Yeah.
But it's like 2 hours a week. Now I have pre-cooked all my meals for the whole entire week. So then it's like, dude, it only takes me 10 minutes to, throw it in the microwave really quick, throw on, some sauce, some seasoning, I'm pounding it down. Like it makes it so damn quick and easy.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to. I mean, I've always cooked in bulk like that, and then whatever, I'm taking that, and it could be easier too. Like I used to buy the, I'm not so much out every early mornings, but I always buy that big thing of hard boiled eggs. It comes in a 2-pack, right? You throw that in an apple in the cooler, man. That's meal's done. You're not even. I mean, it can be very, very simple to do, but and shit, if you want to, you can even order prepped meals,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's no excuse. There is no excuse, other than you have to prepare and plan for it. That's it. But that's like anything. You can't be successful doing it any other way. You just can't. I don't know anybody that reached their fitness goals or was in amazing shape other than a few, alien genetic people, but everybody has to, you have to bring your own food. That's it. I don't know
Yeah.
a way around it. I just don't.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to create like a webinar. I've had so many people, especially after I posted that one pic that I got accused of taking a ton of trend and shit.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of, friends and people that I know that are like, tell me what you do. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll create like a little mini webinar on walking people through what I do. And, just so they have the breakdown, but on there, fuck, I forgot what I was even going to say. What were we just talking about?
Man, meal preps and you're gonna.
Yeah. Anyway,
Geez.
though, so
We're out of zone, folks. I mean, we're out of zone. We're waiting for the new shipment.
Yeah,
So.
no shit. Yeah. Oh no, what I was gonna say, and then now it just came back to me is, because I have a topic on there, and we've talked about this a ton on the podcast, the law of thermodynamics, right? And there's so many people out there that are like, oh, if you're eating this type of food, you can eat as much of it as you possibly want. It's impossible to get fat. Well, dude, like maybe for some
Hold my
crazy
beer.
mutants, but like I'm just telling you, I'm 100% proof. I mean, I've done it, right? Where it doesn't matter what I'm consuming, one ingredient, healthy foods, quote unquote healthy foods. Like as soon as I'm in a surplus, I start putting on body fat, and whatever with that. So I guess where I'm going with this is the only way, at least that I have found, if you really want to be precise and take your health and fitness to the next level, is you've got to be able to track your foods. And what's crazy is, so they went out there. I don't know who they, I heard this from Dr. Lane Norton, but he was referencing the I don't know, the meta-analysis research paper or whatever on this, where they went out there and they took the top, I don't know, like top 35 popular restaurants that have on their menu what the caloric, calories
bullshit.
are of each meal. And on average, they were the average meal is 40% above what was stated there. Then from there, and I didn't know this either until, again, from Dr. Lane Norton recently, I learned this, that, okay, the FDA has a rule with food companies where they can have a 20% calorie variance versus the label. So, okay, if you can't trust the food labels, because that they're probably, milking it to the
It's not under. It's not 20% under.
so then I found that, look, like, dude, like
Yeah.
I've got, dude, if I can't fully track it, that shit's just not going in my mouth, you know?
Yeah, the guys who were like, "Oh, you can't get fat on a carnivore," you know, I ran into one of those guys in person, and we had dinner. You know, it was a group business thing, and I was like, "Hey, man, have you ever been fat?" No. You know, he's a naturally thin guy. Okay, but you can't overeat on carnivore and get fat, huh? Wow, shocking. And then I watch him eat, and he had like a 6 ounce petite fillet. He didn't finish it. And I'm like, what do you do? Well, I'm full. I can't eat anymore. Well, when's the last time you ate? I ate at lunch. Like, get out of here, man. That's ridiculous. You know, okay, maybe you have some aversion to food, but you know, I could eat 5 pounds of steak a day, you know,
Yeah.
especially if there's any fat in it. And so this thing like, oh, if you eat just eating carnivore, you can't get fat. You can. You definitely can. But most, you know, most people can't eat that much. They don't have the appetite for it. That guy wasn't lifting weights. He didn't. Probably low testosterone. You know, I don't know, but to your point, I don't think that there's, and that's why that diet's so attractive. People just want that easy button. Oh, I just eat meat and stuff. Okay, I don't have to count anything. You know, that's why it's so popular. Those keto, low carb. You just don't eat any carbs. You eat whatever you want. You don't have to track it. You won't get fat. Okay, fat guy. You know, that's it's that easy button. People just want an easy excuse, but nobody's ever been in elite shape or really made changes with their body did it by not tracking, at least for the beginning, you know, and even you, right? So there's a difference between you tracking very concise, as we saw, and then you saying, well, I eat the same things every day and this is what I eat, and you're kind of static. But okay, you're leaving gains on the table somewhere then. You could be eating more, you could be pushing more food, like we push your carbs up and amazing shit happen. You know, there's all these things. If you don't keep track and then start to manipulate the data and experiment and keep track of that, there's just you're not going to be successful with it.
Yep. Yep. 1000%. And the last thing that, hit on, cause I know we got a hard stop here in about a couple minutes, but, is, and I'd love to hear your take and experience on this too, but is like, okay, back in the day, it was like, okay, let's just say I wanted to put on as much muscle as I possibly could. Well, I had to eat 30 grams of protein every 2 hours, and then as the, research has come out with protein timing, just has found that it's more on a 24-hour period versus, every 2 hours. Right. So like worst
Yeah.
case, okay, if I didn't have the time, let's just say, to eat 5 meals a day like I do now, but then I had to condense the same calories into just 3 meals. Okay, I'm probably going to get roughly the same exact results in those 3 meals. So if you're in a situation where you have to go 5 or 6 hours in between meals because you're just too busy in between time, stack meetings, whatever, like that's not going to really hinder your success, if at all. At least that's been my experience. I don't know if you
Yeah, no, I would
taken.
agree with that. The only exception to that is, you know, and we've done this, the intermittent fasting thing while trying to maintain and gain muscle, and I don't think that's successful. But that being said, anytime that you're eating meat and you have a steady supply of amino acids coming into your body, then you're fine. If that takes 2 big meals, you probably do it. If it takes 3 meals, that's plenty. If it takes 4 or 5 or 6, even better. You know, whatever. But as long as you have a constant supply of aminos coming into your body, that's going to drive recovery, that's going to do all the things that we want. It doesn't matter. So you can eat 100 grams of protein in a sitting. Like when you, that always used to drive me crazy. I never bought into that shit. Like you're telling me if I eat 100, like a pound of steak, that I can't digest it, it's going to take fucking 8 hours to digest. I'm going to have a steady supply of aminos coming into my bloodstream for 8 hours or more. And you're telling me my body can't handle it because there's a secret fucking cutoff somewhere? It doesn't
Yep.
make sense. Now, if you're drinking 30, 35 plus 40, 50, 60 grams of whey protein, in certain circumstances, yeah, your body can't use all that. And so it'll convert some of that to glucose for energy. It'll convert some of that for glucose, to store whatever the situation is at the time. But that's way different than eating food. So yeah, to your point, absolutely, you can make it work for your schedule.
All right. Well, sounds good. Well, we got to jam, everybody, because Jim and I got another meeting here starting in 3 minutes. But truly appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully this was helpful and beneficial. Again, if there's any questions you guys have, any future topics that you would like Jim and I to cover here on the podcast, we'd love your feedback. Make sure to leave a comment below. And Jim, as always, man, this has been fun, brother.
Yep. Always.
All right. Peace out, you guys.